So, who am I? I'm Eleanor Tweddle. Thank you for joining. Why am I obsessed about change? Why do I do this work? Well, I go into organizations and I help them through change programs and do the communications for change that's going through at team level or organizational level. I notice that organizations struggle sometimes with not processing change. For me, of course, we have to have an element of processing, but there's this recognition that actually change is messy. We're humans and we all do change in very different ways. So that's where my interest was a little bit deeper around how do we as individuals change? I coach and facilitate people going through all kinds of different change, not just work. When a door closes in our life, whatever that looks like, we start our change story and it goes in different ways for us all. And I write about change because it's constant. You can never just be, okay, I've got it now. This is how it goes. I'm an expert. There's always something new that catches my curiosity, that makes me rethink perhaps sometimes everything that I thought. And so that's where my book came from. It's where my next book certainly came from. Another Door Opens, is there's just this curiosity about how do we do change? Are we good at change? Are we terrible at change? What is our relationship to change? So that's me. That's all you're going to hear about me. Now it's over to you. The 5 steps are just a simple framework. They're not linear. They could go in all different kind of forms. This could be a day, this could be a month, this could be a year that you navigate through these kind of steps to understand change. In the next 60 minutes, we're going to go through these, but just to provoke your thinking, just to get you unruffling your thoughts on where you're at. I call it free thinking. You just allow your thoughts to roam, really. So don't overthink this. There's no right or wrong answers. If there's something that you kind of feel drawn to or is trying to get your attention, even if it's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about, capture it. It's all amazing insights. So I call it the unruffling of thoughts because really we're just disturbing our thinking. We might get no amazing insights today, but it's unruffling something that perhaps next week, next month, comes to your attention again. So this unruffling is the really important part of change. Notes to self is this way of us being able to tell ourselves where to go. I don't believe you can train change. I believe that you can help yourself to understand it better. And as we're going through this, notice resistance. We know that resistance exists side by side in change experiences. So notice where resistance comes up. So, change. It comes at us from all directions. Think about the change that you are in right now, the changes that you have been through in your life. Big changes, small changes. We can't really categorize these. It's up to you to decide the impact that it has on your life. For one person, moving house is no big deal. For another person, it was huge, life-changing experience. So just start writing down big changes that you've been through, that you're going through. What is happening in your life right now? Let's start to unruffle our thinking about change. What do we believe about change? Do you believe change is hard? It's annoying? It's disruptive? Do you get excited about change? Do you get hopeful? We're going to keep on building on these feelings as we go through this experience today. So let's start. We start by stopping, the pause. In my work, and when I help people navigate change, the thing that always hits me hard, and I'm going to be really honest, I do it too. We do not acknowledge the pause. We do not give ourselves good time to think. We push through. And yet, the first step of navigating change well is to press pause. Be still. Acknowledge the void that is being created, that has been created through the change. Take time to think. Make sure you're looking after yourself. And when time is right, let go. That's what pause can do for us. It's almost like a decluttering, creating space for us to welcome the new, but we have to do it intentionally. So as you're thinking about that, just write down this unruffling, what's going on in your mind when you're thinking about you and pausing and resting and the moment of time you are in. Good pausing is not just for hippies. Sometimes we feel like, yeah, I don't have time for this. That's a luxury item. Can't go and just lie in a field and watch the clouds. I've got things to do. I've got bills that need paid. I've got things to address. So we don't respect pause. We certainly think sometimes it's a little bit of a luxury, shouldn't be doing it. And yet, all the research tells us that when we pause, a different kind of intelligence comes to us. The sciencey bit here. If you need any convincing, this piece about the default mode network, it's where, when this network kicks in, self-reflection, sense making, emotional processing, memory consolidation, creative insight. It's where it all kicks in. All good words, all the stuff that we kind of need right now. We're probably not acknowledging it in that way, but all the good stuff that we need to do change well. So it means that instead of just surviving and getting through change, we can actually make a good thing from it. We could do good, clear thinking. So it's where we do integrate and make sense of what's happening to us. Like Marcus Roach says, resting states are not idle states. The brain's default mode network helps us to understand our past, imagine our future, and reflect on who we are. And that's kind of what we want. We want to completely not just close the door and forget about it. We can't do that. We want to understand what we want to take with us, what we want to celebrate as we close the door and look behind, and how we want to step forward. So, what does good pausing look like for you? What have you been thinking about as we've been just unruffling our thoughts about pausing? Just capture your thoughts on the top of your mind. Do you have a good relationship with pausing? Do you actively do it? Do you know how to do it? Just scribble anything that comes up when you think about how you pause. Keep building on this. It's completely inevitable and understandable that in our busy lives, we don't make enough space. In fact, we feel incredibly uncomfortable doing nothing. We feel guilty almost. Maybe that's some of the feelings that come up. Shouldn't be doing it. Or maybe we're really good. I know people who definitely make the weekend theirs. They know what they're going to do with it. They know how they want to rest or do nothing or activate their creative thoughts. They're really intentional about what they do. Maybe that's you. So when you think about pausing, what comes up? A reminder that no right or wrong answers in this. You just scribble everything that's going on in your mind. It's notes to self. Go where your thoughts are taking you. I like to use this little matrix to play with to help me think about good pausing. Because actually, we need different kinds of pausing, different parts of our life. This is where we become masters of the pause. Who knew that was a skill set? I completely believe it's a skill set. Because actually, pausing isn't just stopping and standing still, it's all sorts of different things and it comes to us in different ways. Sometimes it is actually about doing, but it's being more intentional about what we're doing. Sometimes it is absolute nothingness. Sometimes it's quite fluid and we go with the flow. Other times, really intentional. So, the mindful pause is where we are doing something, but we kind of go with the flow. Mindful pause might be for you going for a walk, but you're not sure why. We're just setting off on a walk. Could be something like this. This could be your mindful pause. We're doing something, but it's a bit fluid. We're open to see where it takes us. The mindless pause now, this is where maybe we have to be honest with ourselves. It's kind of nothingness. It's not really adding much value. We kind of go with the flow, and you might know where this is going. A bit of scrolling on the old social media, disappearing down rabbit holes of YouTube or Instagram. Might be just kind of reading a newspaper and seeing what grabs your attention, kind of bit of nothingness going on. It's whatever comes to mind, but it's kind of mindless pausing. It's not really serving much. It's just filling in a bit of time. And don't think that this is wrong. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need a distraction. We need to be taken away from our current moment. So none of these things are wrong. We just need to know what we're doing with them, why we're doing them, and own them. Because obviously, mindless pausing can get into complete distraction when we disappear for an hour on the social media. We wonder where time's gone. The silent pause is perhaps a little bit more what maybe we think about when we think about pausing, that intentional piece. We go away and on these retreats and sit in silence in a field for days. I mean, that's extreme, isn't it? Or it could be that we just have our moment sitting in a room, shutting everything off, meditation or some yoga or something. So it's kind of nothingness our way. This is all our interpretation, but there's a bit of intent around it. And then the final thing is when we're doing something and it's intentional, it's perhaps more structured. Again, this might be your structured pause because actually there is something, there's a framework you're working through, something you want from something. So this is for you to interpret. It starts to unruffle your thoughts that actually pausing manifests in our lives in different ways. The key to it is knowing, what do I want from this? The purpose of the pause. What do I need right now? It could be a rest. We're just tired. It could be, I do need time away. I need to take myself out of this environment. It could be, look, I just need a bit of a distraction. This has got too much. I need something completely different and then to come back in. Or it might be time to think. Might be a complete rethink. It might be time to end something and quit. So I think that having this understanding of different pausing, that sometimes when we're fed up, we've had enough, actually we might just need a rest. It's not time to end it yet. Other times it is. Other times, yeah, It is my time to quit. Cannot do this anymore. I'm done. So the key to pausing is understand what you need, what you want, why you're doing something, and just go to that next layer to get the answers you need. So, how are you pausing? What's come up when you've been thinking about this? What does pausing mean to you, perhaps right now? Are you good at pausing? Has this given you a little bit of food for thought? What are you discovering in the pause? And what do you need right now? I'll let you sit and see where your mind goes, capture some thoughts. Feel free to put anything in the chat if you want to share some of that. I don't want to disrupt your thinking space, so that's optional. But if you find it useful, share any parts of insight or ideas that are coming up in the chat. Or when we regroup, we can talk about what's come up. Step one is all about understanding how to do good pausing in moments of change. We're actually going to keep up the practice of reflecting the whole way through our experience. So it isn't that you just do step one and then you're done. Of course not. When we start doing something new, we have to know when to pause, when to rest, when it's too much. So actually, this mastering of pausing is really important. This helps us to get into the next step, the messy step. Thank you, Rachel. Yes, stop. When we think about pause, we sometimes think stop. The messy part helps us almost to dig a little bit deeper in that. Perhaps some things have kept coming up, like the word stop, or what does that mean? As we get messy, we're allowing ourselves to understand that there are no beautiful, shaped next steps. This step helps us to acknowledge that it's okay to feel many different things. It's okay not to have answers. This is about getting to know ourselves in this moment of time, perhaps in ways that we haven't stopped to think, what am I actually doing? Oh, I didn't really know I did that. And it's kind of a strange concept because we kind of think, well, I'm with myself every day. But do we really know ourselves? In the messy step, it's about acknowledging we're going to have to be uncomfortable. We cannot keep ourselves comfortable in moments of change. So, what does that look like? So, messy is for all of us, not just artists. We all need to get messy. We know that change arrives to us in so many different ways. It brings this uncertainty, it brings emotions, sometimes nothing at all. But we're kind of conditioned to initially react with resistance or a little bit of denial, or we want to rush through and get to the end of change. Again, write down what's coming up for you when you think about how change has arrived for you. If you're in this messy middle part where a door is closing and a door is about to open, think about how it is feeling and start writing. Are you really acknowledging that moment? Because the messy middle bit is actually where transformation begins. We shouldn't rush through it. It's part of the good process. If we rush through, we might miss opportunity, and suddenly a year later we think, oh, what did I do this for? It doesn't feel right. So just acknowledging this kind of middle bit opens us up to possibilities. It helps us to challenge ourselves a little bit and think, hang on a minute, why am I doing that? What are my habits that perhaps this moment of change has brought to the surface that I need to acknowledge and maybe do something about? Maybe it's showing us an identity we didn't even know we had that we have to think, hang on a minute, is this me now or am I somebody else? So, this messy middle bit isn't about having instant answers, it's about clues. This is almost what you're doing now. You're unruffling clues as to what happens next. It's the necessary part for growth. Of course, we have to have a quote from Glennon Doyle. Of course, we do. If you haven't read Untamed, highly recommend. Be messy and complicated and afraid and show up anyway. So, in a way, change is revealing what really matters to us. And that's what I want you to kind of sit with. What is really mattering to you? How are you embracing this messiness right now? And how are you making sure you know what your priorities are? How are you checking in with what really matters? Where you're focusing your energy so you don't put your energy in the wrong places. And I know that's easy to say, it's not easy to do. But once you start to get more intentional and be more aware of where thoughts are going, suddenly things unlock. So even just things like worrying. If we're constantly worrying, there's good worrying and there's worthless worrying. So even just checking in with, hang on a minute, how in control of these things that I'm thinking about a lot am I? And perhaps if I can move my thoughts into things that actually I can control, what would be the outcome there? So it's even just thinking about this messy moment of where your thoughts are going, what's repeating in your mind, what things can you do that can help you through it? Just capture the things that are coming up for you when you're thinking about the messiness of change right now. So, what we're describing really is this change curve. You may already know Elizabeth Kubler-Ross change curve. You might have come across this in your work or reading about it. She developed a change curve to help people understand how we navigate grief and loss, where we start with shock and denial. We dip down into a low, could be a depression or a low, and then we start coming out through experimenting, through making decisions, and then we integrate and we're back up and running into life as it normally is. It's a great piece of work, but in my work, I kind of feel it's a little bit more grey, not quite as clear, a bit hazy. It looks a little bit more like this. Some days you're hopeful, some days you're worried, some days you feel better and excited about something. Some days you're a bit confused and feel like you're going backwards, not forwards. Just have a play now with perhaps how it feels when you think about what you're going through. Could be a day, could be a week, could be a month. Timelines are up to you. Think about the moment the door closed in your life. Just scribble your change curve. What does it really look like? Label how it feels. Was there moments that triggered these moments? Like excited might have been a great conversation with somebody. Confused might be a ghosting, something's disappeared, a setback. It's really these moments that help us to get to know ourselves better. And then we can really understand, okay, I'm feeling down today because I've had a lot of setbacks, and I do feel down when I have setbacks. How do I help myself through the setback? So, what does your curve look like? It might be an indifference, might be mild curiosity, hope, this worthless worry that keeps repeating in your mind and taking up all your energy and making you wake up at 3 o'clock every morning with all of this worry and questions. But then there may be moments of worth it worry. Don't beat yourself up about waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we have a really great insight. If we allow ourselves to say, okay, I'm not going to pressurize myself here. Things are on my mind. What's maybe an interesting insight I can get from my thinking right now, even at 3 o'clock in the morning? Worth it worry. Let's not just push it away. Sometimes we need to recognize what's on our mind, and it holds possibility, it holds answers. This is just an example to provoke your thinking of what your curve looks like. Could look like this. A little bit of silence just for you to capture your thoughts. If you do this on replay, this is a good moment to pause. Just give yourself like 5 minutes of absolute silence to really grab the words that are coming to you. Now, what I want to point out at this point, just take ourselves away for a little moment, our own curve, just to point out that we usually go through change in a group, in a team, and we kind of think we're all going through Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's beautiful change curve. But actually, we might be in the same sea, but we're definitely not in the same boat. Look at this for an example. This is a team going through change. Here's Dev, here's Laurie, Jack, and John. Look at Laurie's curve. Kind of excited, has some moments, maybe some news coming in that's not quite aligned, but picks up. It's going to be good. John is not happy about this change. However, as you can see, at one moment in time, some good news comes. Can see the possibility, can decide maybe, okay, this is a moment I'm going to own. Dev started really excited, and now, unfortunately, bad news has come along, or actually, the rethinking has happened and not feeling so great. Jack's kind of been a bit indifferent about it, a little bit of a dip, but now's okay. Now, this could be family, this could be community, this could be perhaps Jack has delivered the news, and this is people's reactions around them. Never underestimate people's reactions around you. Again, scribble down who have you got around you? How are they reacting to change that's going on for you, for them? Because it can affect us. If you look at this, Johnny's in a bad place at the time when Dev and Laurie are super excited. So you can imagine those conversations, the frustration of Dev and Laurie having to listen to John being miserable, and John feeling miserable and looking at their excited face. But look here where it kind of changes a little bit. Now suddenly Dev, Laurie, and Jack are grouping together and watching John getting excited. This could be, for example, at work. John's decided to leave and start a business, and suddenly Dev and Laurie and Jack are thinking, whoa, hang on a minute. Should we be doing something like that? They look like John's looking like they've made a big decision. We're kind of envious. We might be jealous. There's a bit of group think here going on. Look up here, where actually Laurie's maybe been inspired, decided to follow John's path. And this part where people swapped roles, so perhaps people who weren't feeling so great are now feeling stronger. Why am I showing you this? It's because it's important. It's affecting how you're navigating change, not just work, but in communities, in teams, in families, people around you. And if we're not acknowledging this, there's an empathy gap. It's where we kind of have this group backup for how we're feeling and we gravitate to people who are maybe in the same boat as us or the same sea as us. Like, yeah, I'm miserable too. Let's all group together. Whereas actually sometimes possibility lies away from the group. So just scribble what's coming up. Who is around you right now? Who are your cheerleaders? Who are the people cheering you on in your moment of change? Do you need to be there for somebody? Do you need to be the strong one for somebody? So our experience of change, how we're processing it, and how we're thinking about it is unique to us. That's what I call change mastery. We need to try and get ourselves in a space of non-judgment for others, really understand this empathy gap and how can we step into it and help others as well as others helping us. It can be a massive game changer in this messy moment of really understanding yourself and trying to understand others, not fix others. Sometimes we feel like we can fix other people because this happened to us. This is how I did it. You should do it. That's not it. It's just holding this space for somebody to navigate change as they need to change. So, this opportunity to get to know ourselves. Urge you to try and do the work, to go exploring in these spaces of purpose. You know, why are you here? Why am I here? What do I want from life? What is mattering? We'll go through these questions today quite quickly, but if something connects as you're thinking about this, go deeper. You can sometimes spend a whole day on one of these questions. You know, your identity. Who are you? Perhaps that is the thing that is showing up for you really strongly. You're having to close the door on something really strong that you completely connect with. Perhaps it's beliefs. You know, what you're believing is being challenged right now. Perhaps it's values, what you stand for. Maybe strengths. Maybe you're overlooking some magical strengths that can really help you. Maybe it is circumstance. The things that are holding you back are sometimes practical. There are sometimes realities. So being able to sit with these questions, and I'm hoping you're just writing some notes to self about what's coming up here. Sit with them and really to understand the deeper side of that can help you. Might just be one thing that triggers a thought that you need to do more work on. The messy part is about embracing being uncomfortable. Not so uncomfortable, we send ourselves into this unsustainable burnout space. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about stretching ourselves to grow. We do not want stress, we want growth. So always bring that into your mind when you're doing new things. Am I in stretch or is this just feeling so bad now? It's actually moved into stress. I need to move back into comfort. So getting messy. How does it feel? Are you getting to know yourself better? How can you embrace this messy moment? What are the good parts? Maybe we've gone through this so quick, but what were the parts that kind of lit you up that thought, oh, that's got me really curious? Maybe there's some uncomfortable movements you need to make. Again, feel free to share in the chat anything that's come up this messy moment or highlight some parts that we can share when we regroup. We're now going to move into play, which hopefully moves and shifts us into a space of possibility. Can get a little bit heavy in the pause and the mess as we're having to face things perhaps we don't want to. How we ease ourselves out of that is this play, where we can go exploring, permission to get curious and think differently, be bold, be wild even. The key to playing is understanding problems in detail and finding solutions. So play is not just for children. We should all be understanding how we play. I'm hoping it already is making you feel like, oh, this is exciting. This is kind of a low stress factor. We can play with some ideas without feeling the stress and strain of achieving something. Can help us to think of things in a different way. Of course, it unlocks creativity and ideas, but it's also about this emotional resilience because if we're in a state of play, we know that experimenting and trying things, it's okay. We can see things from a different perspective. So, play is a rehearsal for life. It allows us to experiment, fail safely, and discover what's possible. A brilliant talk online with Gary Ware. Absolutely love his work. But makes us understand that play, the same as pause, is not a luxury. It is not something we should just take for granted. We should actively try and introduce play. So, how do you play? What's coming up for you as you're thinking about this? Like play? Do you play? Are you a playful person? Or is this just not you? Maybe you're feeling resistance. We need to try and reclaim play sometimes. That you go back to our childhood and we think, well, is that what play is? How I used to play? Or is it now something new? What's coming up? To help us unruffle our thoughts, this is a really quick exercise, but it's really fun. Let's see what comes up. Again, you've already started unruffling your moment of change and where you're at. The Institute of Play, there is an actual Institute of Play, has these 8 types of play. So actually, we are all playful in our own way. We might just not recognize it. Sometimes we're the collector. Sometimes we're the competitor. We maybe are the creator. We may be the planner. Could be the joker. Could be kinesthetic. Could be the storyteller. Could be the explorer. We all have elements of at least one of these in our lives. Start to think about where your unruffling thoughts are taking you when you think about play in a different way. Like, oh yeah, I actually do that. I didn't realize that was a form of play, that it's unlocking the way of my thinking, perhaps a way I've not acknowledged. Dr. Stuart Brown does this work. He has created these 8 types of play. Play energizes us and enlivens us. That's what play is really about. So when we play, it renews our sense of optimism, and that is what we need in moments of change. So how do you get yourself into a space of optimism? Create that energy to do good things. Using these 8 types, Let's have a play with these questions. What I want you to do, you're going to see 8 questions come up. I want you to write down the first thing that comes to mind. Don't overthink it. We're going to go really fast. We're just unruffling our thoughts. Let's go. What do you collect? Scribble the first thing that comes to mind. What's the thing you will always win? Write down the first thing that comes to mind. What do you need to make? What are you most looking forward to? What is the silliest, most ridiculous idea you've got right now? Write down the first thing that comes to mind. What bold move can you make this week? Don't hold back on this one. Write down your bold move. What's the story you need to share? What are you curious about? Now, even just stepping into playing with silly questions and just writing down first things that come into your mind, I mean, it might be ridiculous what you've written down. It already makes us smile a little bit inside, or maybe think, oh, what is this about? However we're feeling is a little clue as to where we're at. The idea of this is to start us to step into this space of don't just think what's right in front of you, but to start unruffling and notice what's around us. Just to understand that we can think differently, we can start creating ideas, can start exploring options, knowing we've got choices, discovering opportunity, and really start to understand what the problem is. Our moment of play is about finding solutions, but being really clear on what the problem is. So, what is the problem? Now, you might want to pause this one if you're on replay, or just take this one away, start the thinking, and come back to it. Where we want to get to is a real understanding of the problem that you are trying to solve. Not just, I've lost my job, I need a new job, but what's the problem statement? There could be some other things when you sit with what is the problem I am with right now. Some other things come from it. And how you start to unlock that is using the 5 whys. You get a problem statement. Okay, why? And you ask why again. And you ask why again. And again. And again. You can have a little play with that right now. You could write down what you think the problem is. Okay, why? And just see what keeps coming out until you get more detail. And it could actually take you in a different direction. What is the problem? I need a job. Why? Because I need money. Why? Because I got bills to pay. Why? Because I got a house and family to feed. Why? It can go like this. Okay, so you get to the point of knowing what matters. Okay, is that really the most important thing? Then you have to fact check. Are all your answers correct? Yes, you need a job, but actually what you're actually saying is, I got to earn X amount by a certain time. Okay, so that's a need. That's what you need. But you can start to then play on, okay, how can I do this then? But you're clear on what the problem is. So this exercise is about taking insights that mean that you're fixing the right problem. You don't just need a job. You want a job that's exciting you, that's bringing you challenge. That yes, you earn X amount for your bills, but actually there's more to it. So an invitation to play. How can you play more? What's grabbing your attention? What's really the problem? What do you need to explore? And maybe what's one small experiment you could try today? Notice what's come up when you've been working through play, the things that you want to take away as an action. Mm. Because now we move in to try, our fourth step. This is where we've unruffled these ideas and play has kind of got us excited and curious and like, what if? What if this possibility? But try is an important move because if we went straight into restart, this can become overwhelming and we stop. So, I want to start a business. We jump straight into restart and we kind of get a bit disillusioned and it's a little bit overwhelming and we stop. If we acknowledge the try step, it brings us into a space where we can keep calm, we can keep focused on what matters, we can actually make things happen without overwhelm. So, try is about finding the joy of trying, acknowledging that things are going to be imperfect. We can do things now, but it's going to be tricky. And we acknowledge that. We're going to have setbacks, we're going to have failures. But if we maybe take one step at a time, can really help us. It can really progress us. And the important thing of trying is it's not what just somebody else does. You can try. You might be in a space of, well, it's all right for them, or I can't do this, this isn't right for me. You look at others doing things. Trying is what you do. This step is about finding joy in trying and saying, do you know what? I'm going to try and create confidence and make moves without the pressure of feeling like I need to know all the answers right now. I'm going to do stuff and know that I'm taking action on some of these ideas. I'm going to give myself a chance. I'm going to back myself. I'm going to celebrate me doing this as well. Sometimes we hold back and we think celebrating is just for the end. But actually, for me, the moment you start to try, that's the moment you start celebrating. So, what are we going to try? Bet you didn't think we were going to have a quote from Dolly Parton. But I heard her say this in an interview and I just loved it. You'll never do a whole lot unless you're brave enough to try. You can hear her saying that, can't you? So it's progress, not perfection. I know that that's a meme. I know it's a catchphrase. And what does that actually mean? But in our step of trying, it's so important. Make moves, not perfect moves. Write down a couple of things that are coming to mind when you're thinking about how can I try? How can I take a step forward? Maybe it's small steps. Maybe I can do a few experiments. A shitty draft. Something that's so bad it's embarrassing, but hey, get started. My next book's coming out, and it was a very, very shitty draft for a long time. But it meant I started. Things can be revised, things can be worked on. Could we do the imperfect pitch? Sometimes we don't reach out to people. We don't pitch for work. We don't talk to people we want to talk to because we're worried about getting it right. What if we just do something a bit sloppy and it's fine? It gets us moving. It starts energy going in the right direction. We can take good enough first steps. So what are you going to try? Definitely need to know your starting point. This is a very practical experience as well as being motivational. I understand capacity and capability. We have to acknowledge that. It's not just that we can just take our leap and go for it. You have to acknowledge where you're at, what you have energy for, what you don't have energy for, the skills you've got. Perhaps you do need to have some kind of training or further skills for what you want to achieve. So this is just an acknowledgement that sometimes in this messy moment of trying, we have to acknowledge capacity and capability. Do I have capacity right now? Do I have capability? If you feel like I've got capacity, but I maybe don't have the skills, time to find out. You don't have capacity right now, but you do have the skills. Well, sometimes we have to sit with just because we can, it doesn't mean we should. If you don't have capacity and you don't have the skills, why is this even coming up? Sometimes we are very good at distracting ourselves on things that are just not right for us. And then this piece of, I have the capacity and I've got the skill set, let's go. What's really holding you back? So I do like a little framework to sort of play around with a little bit to see, okay, is this the right moment for me through practical lens? Because everybody says it's the right time now, but sometimes it's not. But then once you understand if it's the right time or what you need to take that step, it can really help you. That's what trying is about. Can I just make sure everybody's on mute? Amazing, thank you. We're nearly there. We are nearly at the end. So we have to be in a space of trying because you have to have setbacks. You've got to have rejection. We have to have fails. I know it's not what you want to know, is it? We want just this smooth path, but it's not that. All of these things will come at us because we are trying, and that's why we celebrate. We celebrate all of these things because it means you've got up and you're already ahead of the person that is still doing nothing. Oh, listen to that noise. That's typing. Dear me, this is what you are going to say to yourself. I gave it everything I had. I tried. I'm so proud. That's what you owe yourself. You owe yourself trying. So, what are you going to try? Check in with capacity. Have you got the energy and the capacity, the space to do this thing? Have you got capability or do you need to do that? Now, have a good conversation with yourself about this. Sometimes we do training and courses to actually distract away from the doing. So you have to have a good relationship with this capability piece. Have I got enough capability to get going? Am I hiding behind a course? Good conversations with yourself about this. Are you ready for setbacks? Because they're going to come at you. Of course they are. Moments of change don't come with no setbacks. So are you ready for them? Do you know how you're going to get through them? What's the small step you're going to take today? Again, think about what's come up when you're thinking about this moment of trying. Maybe one or two things have come up. Now, we're going to start stepping into the final step with the full intention that all we've got to promise ourselves is we're giving ourselves the best chance possible. That is it. So, in our moment of restarting, that is all we need to do. I'm giving myself the best chance possible. So, we're coming to the end of our experience, our unruffling, the restart. The important bits here are to take ownership, to create success in our way, and give ourselves full permission. And sometimes when we think of restarts, we think it's because something's gone wrong. But actually, the restart isn't just for false starts. It's because you are intentionally saying it's time to restart. And this is how I'm about to step in. You get to see things with fresh eyes when you restart. Can have a beginner's mindset. You're free to unlearn things, the things that no longer fit. You could create an open space for ideas. Oh, can I ask everyone to go on mute, please? Can everybody go on mute? That would be amazing. Thank you. So, this moment of restarting is when we start with intention and focus. Think about where you're starting. Know that a beginner's mindset is a good thing. Sometimes, if we're starting something new, we feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so far behind everybody. Check into that internal narrative you're telling yourself. But no, it's a good thing because you're open now to questions that are really going to help you. You can ask anything, you can be curious in spaces that experts can never be. How are you going to restart? Think of what's come up when you started to unruffle this thinking. Maybe you need to sit with this more, but just capture some things that have come up. Think of the things you're going to say yes to. Like Shonda Rhimes, this brilliant book, The Year of Yes. Yes to everything scary. Yes to everything that takes me out of comfort zone. Yes to everything that feels crazy, that feels out of character, that feels goofy. Yes to everything. Write your own little yes. What are you going to say yes to? Of course, with a yes, we have to acknowledge there's going to be some no's. In moments of change, the no to things is just as important. Like Natalie Lou says, make it a desire or say no. Her brilliant book, The Joy of Saying No. So we also have to own what we are going to say no to. Sometimes that's the hardest thing as well, because in moments of change, we want to say yes to it all. But again, when we know what we really want, where our focuses are, when we're intentional space, we know the right thing to say yes to, and we know the right thing to say no to. So this is about doing success your way. Nobody else's. It's what success means to you. It's how it feels to you. It's what it looks like for you. Nobody else. We have such a society that demands success in a certain way, but we can break this by giving ourselves permission to do success our way. Fearless. Speak now. Red. 1989. Where are we going with this? Can anyone see where we're going with this? Reputation. Lover. Folklore. Evermore. Midnights. The Tortured Poets Department. What on earth is this? Yes, it's Taylor Swift. What on earth are we doing closing our program on Taylor Swift? Well, her recent era tour, as we all know, was magnificent, the biggest tour in history. She celebrated her eras. She labeled them. She made them her own. She told stories about her eras. What's yours? Label your era. What are you going to call it? Perhaps it's about what you're doing. Perhaps it's about the values that are guiding you. Perhaps it's about who you want to be. Think of Taylor's. Sometimes it's telling the story of who she was. Sometimes it's about something completely random, the Torch and Poets Society. Imagine if that's your era. What is that about? Sometimes it's about what success looks like for you or what you're navigating. So I want you to have a play now and say, what is going to be your next chapter? Perhaps it's the big reinvention, the quiet one, fresh air, family moments, going for it. Whatever is springing to mind, you can work on this, but this is a really good little trick to help you to navigate change by owning it. Label your next chapter, label your era. What words are coming to mind that you can say, this is going to be for me? I'd love you to share your era as we regroup. So, full permission to own change, to pause, to embrace the mess, to play, to try, to restart. Do all of this underneath your label, the big reinvention, the quiet one, whatever that is for you, full permission to do it your way. Thank you for navigating this change. I hope it has unruffled lots of thinking. Never going to get all the answers, but it will certainly help you to start on this track. Pick out the insights that are really shouting to you right now, some things that might have cropped up that you want to work on further. And share with other people. Have a look at what's come up. Take action and own what happens next.